hope you guys are getting ready for Jamie. She's going to be taking over from me in about 25 minutes. So lucky for her, we're not going to meander too far from these lines. I think we'll, in a few, just now, we'll pop out to do the swap out safely away from where the lines are. While these guys are quite peaceful, why don't you guys let me know whether you want to go have a closer look at the male line or you want to stay here. So you guys tell me what you would like to do. Do that by sending an email to questions@wildearth.tv or use the hashtag Safari Live if you're on Twitter. Also, if anyone is new, we are live. You are seeing at the moment, two cubs suckling off a lioness in the Sabi Sands Game Reserve in South Africa, particularly on Djuma Private Game Reserve. And you are live, and we are interactive. So if you are new, you can ask me questions about what we're seeing. And you can do that by emailing questions@wildearth.tv or use the hashtag Safari Live on Twitter. Hi, Rome. Rome would like to know, why is the other female not pregnant, or does she have cubs that are not here? Well, Rome, she has been seen mating. It's possible that she just hasn't conceived yet. And we have mating yet, but I've heard from the guys to the south of us that she has been mating. So it is possible she could be pregnant already, or she hasn't conceived. Generally, I actually read a little interesting stat on that a bit earlier. Where was it? Here we go. Majority of matings do not result in pregnancy. 14 mating periods observed in the lions do breed quite quickly, so it could be a mechanism to control their population naturally. So very interesting, but I'm quite sure she will be trying to have cubs if she's not pregnant. The little guys are still suckling. Isn't it wonderful to be able to spend some peaceful moments with these lions? Here, whether you want to go have a quick closer look at the male line and then come back to the little guys. So I've just heard, stay, stay, stay. So we'll stay right here, don't worry.
Yes. And until what age does the mother carry him in the mouth?
So quite interesting, I've been having a look in my big book, and there's some interesting little facts on lion estrus and that, and also litter sizes. So the level of nutrition conceived during that time, so it seems only that the females that are in good condition give birth, and also litter numbers are regulated by the amount of food available. So obviously you can see 3 is a nice number, so there's obviously enough food around for these guys. I'm starting to lose a few layers, it's getting a bit warmer. Oh, there we go, a little bit of movement still. One thirsty little one.
So small, in very good condition.
Hi, Susanna. Susanna's just saying that none of the 3 look like runts. They all look the same size. They do, Susanna. There doesn't seem to be a marked difference in size between any of them. So that means probably that there's enough milk, so the female's in very condition. Have to fight over milk, which in that case you would see the more aggressive individual become bigger, even at this young age. But so it looks like things are hunky-dory for the Sticks girls at the moment. So guys, we're going to sit here for a few more minutes and then we're going to get out and unleash Jamie on the vehicle. So what we are going to do is when we do come back, we'll probably try get in at a different angle where we can possibly see something a bit more than where we are now. But I'm not going to move just yet. And also, there are some other game drives that are working their way here. So when we leave for Jamie, we're going to do a quick loop around before we come back to the lions. So They're not going anywhere at the moment, so I'm sure they're not going to move. So Jamie's going to take you on a little bumble around before coming back to the lions, who are very flat cats at the moment, but they are so adorable. So I'm going to start slowly moving. Oh, has he popped his head up? He has too. So I'm going to start slowly moving to a place where it's safe for Jamie and I to swap. And we'll have a look at that male lion. His head's up on the way out. Ev, come in. Let the engine run for a few seconds. It's not to startle again. Go, just let it run. Little head up there. So let the engine run so they get used to it. So when they're older, they have little or no reaction. So I'm just going to start moving backwards very slowly as they tuck in. Hasn't this been amazing? I mean, we started off with a brief but wonderful short sighting of Tingana, but this is definitely the cherry on top. Hello, big boy. There he is, just lying off to the side. That looks like the ginger Matimba male. Oh, lions, incredibly lazy animals. Sleep for a good 20 out of 24 hours. Looks like he's I thought he was going to flop flat cat again. You've blocked my road, that's where I came in. Now I've got to find somewhere without too many stumps. Between the two roads, we go out this way now. The line is blocking nicely this way to the east. So you guys are ready to welcome Jamie on her first trial drive. Impala that were alarming at the lines a little bit earlier. Let's get out of here. I'll move away from them as well. I've driven through this thing before. Let's see if I can find it. Yes, I have driven through this thing before. Maybe not. It's quite thick there. Let's go around that way. Coming through. A far more civilized looking way than driving through the thicket. A few more minutes with me. I'm just going to have a move around towards Treehouse Dam. So, 5 minutes time. We're going to welcome Jamie on her Wild Earth interview. We're all hoping she does very well. And I'm sure you guys are going to love her and be nice to her. Look at Treehouse Dam, see what's happening there. Nice pretty spot for a swap over. Fantastic morning it's been. It's been an absolute wonderful pleasure. Having you on the back of my vehicle. We've had leopard and lion, but those little lion cubs definitely stole the show today. And my first time seeing cubs since I've been at Wild Earth, so really great day. Going to take a lot to wipe that smile off my face today. So we're arriving at Treehouse Dam. Wonder if there are any old buffalo bulls. Nope. So we can safely swap over. Oh, the buffalo are arriving actually. Was that there's some okay, let's pop in here. There's some zebra might be coming to drink at the dam, so I'm just gonna get to a spot where they can't see us. Jamie, are you ready?
Ready to go.
There we go. So we're gonna do this quick swap over of seats. So thanks very much again for joining, guys. It's been absolutely wonderful at Safari. So have a fantastic time with Jamie for this last hour, and we'll see you later. Here we go. Move all my paraphernalia. Well, good luck, Jamie.
Thank you. everyone. I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Jamie, and as Brent has already told you, I'm here to do my interview drive. I'm hoping to join the Wild Earth team. I don't have the same level of experience as some of the other presenters, but I'm hoping to bring something fresh and new, and hopefully to learn from some of these amazing guys, because it's been an incredible morning so far. I've really enjoyed myself. Spectacular sighting of the leopard, Tangata, a nice big dominant male, and then a sort of very rapid drive to see the Stig Pride, which was an also very special sighting with very serene family scene with nice new cubs. So we're just going to make our way around a little bit, but before we do that, I just want to tell you a little bit about myself. I was born in Johannesburg, and I grew up visiting the bush and loving the bush, and it is my passion and my life. I spent 3 years in the UK at university, studied law, decided it really wasn't for me, and that I wanted to come back and enjoy the bush again. So I hope you enjoy having me. Please be kind to me, guys. I'm new, don't know the roads, don't know the reserve, don't know the animals, but hopefully I can give you a good drive. So bear with me a second, I just need to get my earpiece in. Okay, let's hit the road and see what we can find. I think what we're going to do is slowly make our way around. Oh, we've got a nice herd of zebra coming down to drink. All right, what you'll often see with animals coming down to drink is they can actually take a very long time in approaching a dam. And that's for a very clear reason. They need to make sure that there's no predators about. As you saw when we first approached that lion pride, they were also hanging out around the dam waiting to see what was coming down to drink. So you'll see that they approach very, very cautiously, often using as much cover as possible and walking into the wind so they can smell what's around them. Do is be very cautious when they approach, just in case there's a crocodile lurking in the depths of the water. The rest of the herd is feeling a little bit cautious, but we've got two brave drinkers. So typically a herd like this, the family structure would usually be the dominant stallion and his group of mares that he's selected. So when a young or his least favorite mare. And I read a very interesting article recently that the females obviously have a hierarchy. So the newest female will be the one that is lowest ranking in the herd. And often the existing females, when a new female comes into the herd, can be very unfriendly and antisocial for a while, and that female must walk at the back and learn her place until she's accepted by the herd. And often when you see zebras with stumpy tails, missing tails, I always used to think when I was a child that was from a sort of surviving zebra that had escaped from a lion or a hyena hunt. but actually of teeth and kicking, and they have some very impressive incisors that they use to bite. So since you guys are new to me, I want to test a little bit on your knowledge from some of the existing viewers. Please can you answer this question for me? How do you tell the difference between a male and a female zebra? Okay, it's one of the more tricky ones to do. And you can send through your answers either on questions at WildEarthTV or tweet us in #SafariLive. Hi guys, thank you so much for your warm words of welcome. I really appreciate it. Makes me a lot more comfortable. And Edward, thank you very much for offering that up, the praise for spotting the animals. That seems to be a really lucky morning, and they're coming to us. Head off and see if maybe we can get back to those lions. Alright guys, the voice in my ear tells me that we lost the picture, but we still have audio. So I apologize for that, and hopefully we'll be back online as quickly as possible. Let us know what your thoughts and feelings are. Guys, welcome back. We've got our picture back up and running. We're just going to drive around, see what we can see, and then hopefully make our way back towards the lovely pride of lions that we had earlier. See, that's to do with the soil and the climate and everything like that, the level of rainfall. It's just, it's always impressive to see how everything's connected and ties in together. It's one of my favorite things about experiencing new places, and I've been very fortunate to have traveled quite extensively in South Africa. But to me, there's nothing like the low veldt. our way towards the lions. I wanted to give you guys a little bit more background on where I come from and what I've been doing up until now. I actually spent a year in the Kalahari before I went to university. Oh, for a nice buffalo. Okay, hold that thought. I just want to see if this boy comes out, if he relaxes a little bit now that we've stopped the car. He's just hiding there behind the buffalo thorn. No, I don't think he wants to come out and say hi. Got a nice lone buffalo bull here. The regulars will know that we actually refer to them here in South Africa as dagga boys or dagga boys. The lone males that often wander away from the herds and spend their time wallowing in the mud. Alright, he looks pretty placid now. Buffalo are some of the most dangerous animals in the bush, especially these old males. They can be pretty grumpy when they want to be, and they often surprise you when you're out walking. He's nice and peaceful. He's decided he actually can't be bothered really to chew that mouthful. He's just going to hold it there for a while. I recently had a very interesting buffalo experience, and probably my most exciting buffalo sighting to date, where I happened to see that a female was in the process of giving birth. Now, typically, female buffalo will actually take themselves off somewhere when they're ready to have their babies, and they hide away. And I actually saw the reason for this fairly recently. When her water broke and she started to give birth, she actually lay down. She was obviously struggling quite hard. And one of the other young females came to investigate. Now, I don't know the exact reason for this. I think it was probably a combination of the smell or something like that. But when she smelt the water and smelt the female, she got very overexcited and actually started ramming her horns into the pregnant female and pushing her up onto her feet and then chasing her around. And while this was all happening, one of the big males tried to get in between. I don't know whether it was out of a sense of concern or just to see what was going on. And then by the end of it, I actually had the whole herd, it was a herd of about 23-odd buffalo, chasing this one poor female round and round and round the car. I actually had to keep tapping the car just to remind them that I was there. They were so frenzied and distracted. And apparently this is something that happens. It's sort of an overexcitement that occurs when the buffalo get hold of the scent of the pheromones and the hormones that are coming through with a pregnant female. And that's actually one of the reasons that the female will take themselves off into a nice thick bush on their own. You'd be happy to know, though, that we went back the next morning and the female was there with her calf. The calf was alive and fine. They just stayed separate from the herd for a couple of weeks. So a happy ending to a very interesting buffalo sighting. Okay, good boy. See you later. That's fresh dung. So, Rick and Susie in Hawaii have asked, guys, nice to have you. Welcome to the Sunrise Drive. And you've asked if there are any dung beetles around at this time of year, or if they're predominantly around more during the wet season. Alright, I haven't seen any dung beetles for about a month, well, especially from where I'm from. They do typically tend to only come out during the rainy season. And what we've noticed, particularly this year, where in the area that I'm from, and I'm assuming similar to this area as well, is a huge drop in dung beetle numbers, just because there's been so little rain. We've had a very, very dry season, and it obviously hasn't been favorable to the dung beetles. So we had a couple of population explosions, but other than that, very few dung beetles flying around, and they usually are. So yes, typically summer, rainy season, you'll get a lot of dung beetles around, and you'll see that the dung piles that are deposited will be removed and flattened a lot faster. And it makes aging dung that you see in the road a bit more tricky, because you have to then take into account the season and the amount of dung beetles around to flatten it out, because they can make really quick work of that job. They can convert a pile of elephant dung, rolls of elephant dung, and flatten it in very rapidly, in about an hour, if there's enough of them around. Our way back towards where the lions were. Okay, so this is the dam where we first spotted them, and they actually made their way into the block in that direction. I'm just going to shift the car into low range, just so that I've got a little bit more control over the power. And then we're going to go see if we can find them again. Might have picked up a passenger. Let's just see. Okay. Often happens when you're off-roading that you pick up a stick or something. Sometimes you can jar it loose quickly just by reversing and then going forward, but sometimes it's a little bit more stubborn. Thank you, Andrew. Trying to relocate. Right. what I want to do when we approach this pride is to try and go from a slightly different angle to the one that we were at earlier. See if we can see things a little differently. Welcome to the Sunset Drive. Thank you for your question. Billy Joe asked me what my ultimate sighting would be in Sabi Sands. Sure, that's a difficult question to answer, but I'll let you in on a little secret that I've become a bit of a butt of everybody's jokes. Because despite having lived and worked in the Green Kalahari, which is well known for its aardvark sightings, I have never ever in my entire life seen a wild aardvark. So hopefully that is something that I would get to see here. I'm still waiting. Seems that every time I'm about to see one, I miss it. I've even been on an aardvark capture and I still manage not to see one. So that would probably be my ultimate for the next day. We'll just see if we can find these lions. Ladies and gentlemen, if you could just bear with me a bit, I just want to concentrate on trying to just see which way these lines have gone. Difficult in a situation with lions, especially at this time of the day, because typically they're sleeping with heads down. It makes them a lot more difficult to spot. Unfamiliar car. other safari vehicles. I'm assuming they're still sitting with the lions. All right. Seems that the other male has joined. Now, guys, I don't know these animals as well as you do. I've actually been very, very impressed reading some of your comments and questions at how well you guys actually know the history of these animals. So, is this just the Matimba males? Are there just 2 of them, or are there more? You can send me your answers on questions at WildEarthTV. And you could also tweet at hashtag Safari Live. Just going to shed some layers quickly while I've got the chance. Getting a little bit warmer. So a very typical view of lions at this time of day. I always find it interesting when you read articles and books or you watch documentaries, the sort of typical documentaries on lions. And they always give off this image that during the heat of the day, the lions will be in the shade sleeping. And whilst that's definitely true and often the case, I've also had a fantastic experience and a very enjoyable one where I learned a great deal, where I spent 12 weeks following one particular lion pride every morning and every afternoon. And that typically meant that we were out much, much later during the day. And we were able to see that actually, even during the hottest times of the day, from June all the way to September, where it can reach well over 30 degrees, even if it's just spring, that they will actually get up, if they see the opportunity, they will actually get up and hunt, even if it's really hot and they're really full. It's just because lions are instinctive. They're opportunistic hunters. If they see the opportunity, they will go for it. And in that pride in particular, there was a young female who was just reaching adulthood, and she was pushing to learn how to hunt and provide for the pride. So she was actually typically getting up and starting the hunts. And what we saw earlier with these guys was that female picking up on the impala and going into sort of stalk mode, trying to creep around with the little babies following behind and essentially messing up the hunt. And this is actually something that I've seen happen quite a few times with lion cubs. As they get a little bit older, then they start to learn that what they should do when their mom goes into that mode is just lie down in the grass. And once you start to see that happen, it's amazing how the lions can communicate with each other almost soundlessly. It's just that everybody knows exactly what to do. Every pride member knows what their job is and what their place is without having to talk to each other in the way that we would have to. And of course, it's a combination of body language and clues picked up from behavior, and then of course practice as well, and instinct. Flat cat. Okay, really nice view of this male. Okay, so we've got a very good question from Elizabeth from Minneapolis. And she was asking if there's any difference between a way that a male cub and a female cub are treated in the pride. Elizabeth, not so much in the beginning. All right, so the cubs as young as the ones that we're seeing, sort of 3 months up to 6 months, they'll be treated all equally. They'll have equal access to suckling depending on their size. Obviously, the bigger ones will be able to fight for the better position and the most milk. But when they start getting older, what you'll actually see is a difference in behavior between the male and the female cubs. All right, the males tend to be a little bit more adventurous, a bit more into exploring and seeing their world, and a little bit more precocious. So they'll often be the ones that initiate the play with the adults. All right, and then as they grow older, you'll start to see that the males tend to go more and more towards the peripheries of the pride. Because as you know, once they reach sexual maturity, once they sort of hit 2 to 3 years old, they're actually going to be pushed away from the pride. And that's a biological thing. It's to prevent them from being able to breed with their mothers or their sisters or their daughters. So what they'll do is the females and the older males will actually push them out of the pride. And it'll start slowly and gradually, just with distancing. The males will put the big males, the dominant males, they're probably their fathers, will put them in their place more often, push them away from kills, and eventually their instinct kicks in and they go off on their own. Okay. So, I don't think these two gentlemen are going to move anywhere. What I would like to do is see if I can reposition just so that we can get another view of the females and the cubs. Alright, so just bear with me as I find a way around the bushes so I don't drive too close to them. I really don't, even if these lines are perfectly relaxed around vehicles, directly approaching and squeezing around next to them is not an ideal way to guide. It's not ethical. We're in their space, not the other way around. Make our way in. How's it? Thank you.
Okay.
Hey. Right where we left them. Isn't that wonderful? Very, very cute. It's actually been a long time since I've seen cubs this young. Okay, so we could see a bit of play behavior going on, sort of half-hearted and a bit sleepy. It's difficult to be too active when your bellies are that full. As these cubs grow older, their relationship with their siblings is one of their most important learning tools, because they'll actually learn the skills that they need to hunt and to eat just by, or partly by, playing with their siblings and learning and perfecting their coordination. Okay, Mom's had enough. Wants a little bit of space. Alright guys, thank you for the updates and for filling me in on the Matimba males. I believe it was Ellen and Purple Flower. Hi guys, welcome to the Sunset Drive. Sunrise Drive. Still in the morning. Thank you for filling me in on a little bit of the Matimba males history. Apparently there are 5. Voice in my ear tells me it was Morning Glory. Thank you. Apparently there are 5 Matimba males, for those of you who are like me and aren't sure, and that these 2 are the ginger male and hairy belly. So thanks for that, guys. Thanks for that update. Christine from Austin, Texas. Big hello, and thank you for your question. Christine asked me if I have a favorite predator and what it would be. It's a very difficult one to answer. I've always had a soft spot for wild dogs, but I also really enjoy spotted hyenas. I mean, I know that they have quite a bad reputation in some circles as being dirty scavengers, but they're actually one of the most effective hunters that we have in South Africa, and their social structure and hierarchy is completely fascinating just because it's so different, being the only really true matriarchal animal grouping. So I think if I had to pick, it's a difficult decision, but if I had to pick, I'd probably say spotted hyena. I also always enjoy a nice spotted hyena cub sighting, because they tend to be very curious and very inquisitive, coming right up to the car and having a look and exploring, usually with their teeth. But they are wonderful to watch and always entertaining. Thank you for your question. Little cub making his way to mommy. See if he can get a bit more food. All right, we have a question from Penny pine about whether or not these cubs are too big for their mom to pick up, or whether they could still be carried away from danger by her. Penny pine, they are still small enough that she could very easily pick them up. And there's a typical reflex amongst small away from danger. All right, typically this won't be her to protect the others, and there's no way that she could pick up all of them at this point. So what she'll probably do, as was discussed a little bit earlier, is she'll probably actually take an offensive approach rather than trying to rush away and hide the cubs. Here you can see nice and clearly that she is the mom. Wonderful time playing over there. His tail.
Biting the other one.
Okay. So you'll see that these guys are still young enough to have their spots. And that's evolution helping them out again. All right, the spots and the dappled coloring when they're young like this will help them to camouflage and to hide when their mom is not around to protect them. And those spots will actually, you'll still see them. I've still seen them on 2-year-old lions. It takes a while for them to actually disappear. Oh, isn't that cute? If you can, have a look at the light stripe that's under the eye, where the fur is actually very, very light. Right, that's very typical of nocturnal hunters, nocturnal predators. So things like lions and leopards, they have that beautiful highlight under their eyes, and it's just a way of making the most of the light that they have. Good night vision. And then if you look at something that is more of a daytime predator, so a diurnal predator, something like a cheetah, they've actually almost got the opposite effect. So those dark tear marks that run down their face, the black stripes down each side of their nose, that's actually a way of preventing glare and helping them out when they're hunting. In the same way that, say, sportsmen will put on their dark stripes underneath their eyes. So very interesting how nature has found a way to help the animals out. Oh, very sweet. Climbing over mom. Okay, we have a question from Nancy. Hi, Nancy. Welcome to the Sunrise Safari. Nancy wants to know how old these cubs are. Obviously, I don't have an exact age for you, given that I don't work here, but I would say roughly around 3 months, from what I understand, and just judging by their size. All right, any much younger than this, and the mom actually keeps them hidden for quite a long time. You only start seeing lion cubs properly, typically around sort of 2 months old, when she starts bringing them out into the open. So yeah, these guys are roughly 3 months old. Very, very small still. It always amazes me how fast baby animals grow. And that's largely due to the fact that animal milk, especially things like predator milk, is incredibly nutritious. Very high in protein. It's got everything that they need to grow big and strong very quickly. And the difference from 3 months to 6 months in lion cubs is tremendous. So Dan in Philly has a question for us. He wants to know what age the cubs will start eating meat. All right, I've seen cubs at sort of 6 months old actually start to investigate carcasses. But even these cubs now, if the females kill something, they'll go and have a look at the meat. They probably won't eat any of it. They're still too young and they're still too reliant on their mother's milk. But I've seen them around 6 months old start to chew on meat, start to have a look and investigate the leftovers from their parents' meals. And from then on, they'll start to wean slowly off the milk and more onto purely meat-based. It's very important for the females to actually get the cubs weaned as quickly as possible, because milk production for any animal is actually quite a strenuous activity, especially if you're living from meal to meal. So she wants to be able to get the cubs moving and eating the same diet as they are as quickly as possible so that her body can save its resources. Trying to escape again. They're not going to let her. The one's been distracted by a stick.
The two female one there.
Okay, starting to move, settle down again. Third is sort of being a little bit separate from all of the action and kind of keeping to itself, and whether or not this cub is actually the runt. I wouldn't say so. There doesn't seem to be much size difference between the cubs. It could be that you're seeing a difference in gender just early. It's very difficult to actually decide to determine what gender these cubs are at the moment, just because they're so small and they don't really present the opportunity to determine what they are. But it could be that we've got two males and a female, and that the female is just keeping away just from the slightly boisterous brothers. But it could also just be that that cub is not in the mood to play like that at the moment and will be up for it later. I'm just going to reposition slightly just so that we've got a better view.
Just getting a different view.
Okay, lots of questions about the clicking noise. Just to fill you guys in, it's just cameras, big cameras on the car next to us. Some other guests are also enjoying this amazing sighting with us. So that's what the clicking sound is. Okay, David from the UK has asked a very interesting question about male to female ratio in lions. And he was saying that you often get the impression that there are far more females than there are males. And he was asking whether or not this is because the males are more dispersed and if it is really just a 50-50 ratio. David, as far as I know, typically it will be a birth of 50-50. Genetics generally goes towards that. There's not much in the way of sex selection before birth. But what you will find is that male cubs will tend to have a higher mortality rate than the female cubs. All right, that's because they're often, when they reach sort of, if they've made it to 2 to 3 years old and they're starting to disperse, if a bigger male or a bigger coalition of bigger males comes across that male, they will actually fight and potentially kill them. So you do find that nature selects for a greater number of females. And that makes sense in terms of the idea behind what species want, and species just want to propagate. Essentially, they move towards ensuring the survival of the species. So if you have more females, it only takes a small number of males to fertilize those females. But the more females you have, the more babies you can have. Very good question. Okay, if we're nice and quiet, we can actually hear them. Okay, really nice, comfortable, happy family scene. The sounds that you're hearing from the cubs is a combination of play, and then also they're begging. They are actually begging mom to let them suckle. And you'll see that it's very common with most animals. I don't know if there were any viewers who were watching the sunset drive last night, but we saw the same thing with the hyena cub, also making a very whiny sound, trying to beg. And lots of animals will do that. All of the animals will do that. And then when you see them start to suckle, what they'll do is they actually stimulate the mother's milk production. So for those of you with domestic cats, when you see your cat kneading with their paws, all right, that's instinctive, and it's a comfort thing when they're comfortable with you. And it stems back from when they're kittens and when they were actually stimulating their mom to produce the milk. And that happens with all animals. I've seen buffalo do it there, and it's actually, you start to feel a bit sorry for the poor mother because they'll actually headbutt. And when their horns are coming in at sort of 6 months, you can imagine it's not that pleasant. Hi, Katrina. You've asked what animals I would like to see outside of Africa. It's a really good question, and thank you for that. It's also a very difficult one to answer. I've always wanted to see polar bears, just because they're so foreign to me. They're so far outside of my typical experience. As you know, we don't get any bears in Africa or in South Africa, so they're so far outside of my realm of experience that I would just love to see them and experience them. And then I've always wanted to see whales. Some of the big whales, something like a blue whale or a southern right whale or humpback whale. I've seen them from a distance, but I would love to have a much closer experience. I have so much respect for animals like that. And they've done studies into whales and dolphins, and they have nerve pathways in their brains that only we have, and the great apes have, and that whales and dolphins have. The only animal that we have in South Africa that has the same nerve pathways that's connected to social and emotional development is actually elephants, which is one of my favorite animals to view at the bush. All right, we're just going to let these guys move out, and then hopefully we can take their place, maybe move around these bushes. Okay guys, so we're coming to the end of what has been a fantastic morning, and thank you all for your wishes and warm welcomes. I really, really appreciate it. Obviously it's something new to me, something different, and you guys have made me feel so welcome. And I honestly cannot think of a better morning that I've had in the bush in a long time. And let me tell you, mornings in the bush are never boring, but this has been a special one. Started off with that wonderful sighting of the big male leopard, and now finishing with these amazing lion cubs. So thank you guys, and thank you again to the staff of Wild Earth. They've made me feel very welcome. It's a very special crew of people, and I'm very grateful to be here. It's been a spectacular experience. So thank you. And we're going to finish off by watching this wonderful pride of life.